Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison and joining me as always is Stuart.
All right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. I'm all right.
You just answered and I didn't even ask you. I said, yeah, good. And you went, yeah, good. And I hadn't said, how are you yet? It's very presumptuous of you.
It is, but like, I'll try and see the best in you because I presume you're going to ask how I am. And if you don't, I don't want you coming across like you're that self-involved. Right. So I thought I'd just take one for you.
You're like good PR. You're like saving me.
Yeah,
like,
he's a nice guy.
Said with such sincerity. Otherwise, the YouTube comments are like, Stu, are you all right?
Yeah.
He never asks you how you are.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you watch it, Stu?
Well, look, we've had some, before we even get on to today's show, we've had some absolutely lovely comments on the YouTube channel. So just want to say thank you to everybody that has kind of given us some really nice feedback on the show. And just wanted to say we really appreciate that.
We do.
We've also got some new goodies. And so as you can see, if you're watching this, you can see it. If you're listening, pop over to YouTube. While you're over there, subscribe and just have a little look because our sponsor, Fat Candy, has... I feel like I should wear these while I do this.
Yes. Oh, yes. The old Fat Candy glasses.
There we go.
Nice. But not only that, the old Happy Gilmore
look at this.
football jersey. I'm going to lift it up. You can talk while I lift it up.
Is it ice hockey?
Oh, it might be ice hockey.
It's ice hockey. So basically they've sent us over a huge, I suppose it's not huge, it's probably just a standard size for ice hockey. But it's actually the Happy Gilmore number, and it's got Gilmore on the back, and it's in the Fat Candy yellow and black branding, and it's centre stage on our presenting desk. They've sent us loads of other bits and bobs, got these jazzy sunglasses on. Also, it's all around this. So what they've done is the new Fat Candy Pick and Mix. So rather than buying a whole big pot of Skittles,
and I wouldn't blame you if you did, because they are delicious.
We literally before we pressed record, Blake smashed a load straight down his throat. But this one is kind of a mixed bag.
Weird, by the way.
It's what's that?
Blake smashed a load right down his throat.
We have to
keep it PG. Keep it PG.
Yeah, sorry.
You're doing promotional work for
a very
reputable
weekend.
company. You've got to keep it PG, please.
So inside here are wham bars, blackjacks, fruit salads, Skittles, refreshers, all of your kind of pick and mix gems, all freeze dried right there. And so basically, all of this stuff that you can see, head over to fatcandy.com and whatever you pop in your little basket, then pop in the discount code SWEETMMA and it will save you some money. And I had a big chat with the team over at Fat Candy last week, and business is booming. And when you try these goodies, you'll understand why. Try a new take on sweets. Try the pick and mix. Gives you a real little kind of taste of everything they do.
And you can, just smash a load right down your throat, as Stu so eloquently put it. Shall we move on to the weekend? So this episode is going to be about the weekend just gone. We can't remember which UFC Vegas it was. UFC Vegas 96, 97?
I think 96.
97?
I'm
don't
looking
know.
It up. It just says... UFC Las Vegas at the Apex.
I feel like it might be 97, but who cares? So it's at the Apex, and I believe this weekend coming up will also be at the Apex. So, it's 96 and 98 or 97 and 98, I don't know, whatever it is. The most important thing is it was Caio Borralho getting a win over Jared Cannonier, and he looked very, very good. And it was a really fun fight, wasn't it? Like, Jared did really well at points. I mean, Jared, how old is Jared? He's got to be like 40 years old.
I think he's 40.
40 years old.
Yeah.
And he's still doing it at a high level and taking on these young up-and-comers. And up until this moment that we've got behind us here, where Borralho in the 5th round, I mean, it looked like he knocked him out and then woke him back up with more strikes.
Yeah.
And then he went for the arm triangle, and Jared Cannonier was just putting the thumbs up, saying he was okay. I mean... I thought it was a fantastic fight. I thought Caio Borralho did incredibly well, and it was surprising to see him not really shooting for takedowns because Borralho is, a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu, very, very, very good on the ground. How did you find the fight?
Really good. It was that kind of, and I suppose we'll talk about another fight on the card as well, which is like the kind of the elder statesman of the sport. And the young bucks that are coming through and they get tested. And I thought this was quite a close fight.
Yeah. I think if you had it 2-2 going into the fifth, that's fine. I had it 3-1 Borralho.
Borralho's corner said it's either 2-2 or 3-1 to you.
Spot on.
And it was spot on.
Do you know what? Not enough corners get that spot on.
Yeah.
The amount of corners that you go to in between rounds and you're watching it at home and you're going, how are you telling him you're 2-0 up?
Yeah.
You're not. You're nowhere near 2-0 up. If anything, it's either 1-1 or it's 2-0 the other way. Like, we've had that load of time where we've come on this show and said their corners told them they're up or told them that they need to go for the win or whatever it is. And the reverse is really apparent when you're watching it on TV.
Yeah.
How brilliant that this team, the Fight Nerds team, who are smashing it right now with Gene Silva, Carlos Prates, and Caio Borralho, getting it right in the corner as well, putting that Fight Nerds name to good use and understanding the scoring criteria, the rules, all that stuff was really brilliant on their part.
Yeah, that gym's on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
And thankfully the rest of the gym don't only share a gym, not a tattoo studio.
Fight or die.
Fight or die.
Fight or die on my arm.
Like, it literally looks like someone's just grabbed the Sharpie and just written that on there.
It really does.
But that knockout or that knockdown of Cannonier, he sort of got clipped and then he just sort of
froze.
It was weird, wasn't it?
It was like time stopped.
And then folded.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh. And then, like you say, he swarmed him. And I've got to be honest, at that point, I was quite glad that he held out and finished it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the future's bright now for Borralho, isn't it?
Could be top five. Cannonier was fifth, so
where was he? 11?
12, I think.
Right, so that's a big old jump,
Huge
isn't it?
Huge jump. Before we get on to maybe what's next for them, did you think that it seemed like the canvas was slippery? I kept seeing moments, particularly with Cannonier, where he kept slipping. But it wasn't like knockdowns. It was like he kept sort of slipping and having to rub his feet and all this kind of stuff. It looked really weird, like the canvas was slippery.
Fight?
It might have been, yeah.
Where it was like nice a slip. What other fight was that? There was another fight, and you saying that has obviously made me just think, yeah, that definitely happened.
Yeah.
But maybe. I don't know. But
I'm trying to think, because Borralho had both those ankle supports. You can see one of them in the photo here.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was slipping less because he had those on.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not discrediting Borralho. It's a fantastic performance. Yeah. He deserved to win. I'm really looking forward to what's next for him. But it was just odd seeing Cannonier constantly kind of wiping his feet and sort of having a little slip here and there. I don't know what was going on in that cage, but it did look a bit slippy. But
do you think we're now seeing... Cannonier's title shots are done now, really, I think. And so do we now see him kind of on the fringes of the top 10 floating about there? And
do you think he becomes a gatekeeper?
And he becomes a Magni?
Maybe. I mean, he still fought really well.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very good striker. But, 40 years old, it's,
Yeah.
That father time's going to get you at some point. So I don't know how many more he'll have left at 40. It depends how he wants to do things. I mean, this is a man that has fought in 3 weight classes. He started his career at heavyweight, then went down to light heavyweight and looks phenomenal as a middleweight in terms of his physique and all that kind of stuff. Fought for a belt, came up short against one of the best middleweights of all time in Adesanya. Could we see him just not cut weight and go back up to 205? I mean... He doesn't look ginormous at middleweight, does he? So it's not like... I don't think he needs to do that. He could just keep fighting at middleweight. And as a striker, the higher up... If you're going up in weight, it's harder to prevent the takedown. So I think we'll see him stick at middleweight.
Yeah.
it's just, what's next? I think you might be right. Maybe his next couple of fights, maybe it is sort of gatekeeper territory for him. Is he testing some of the young guys coming through a situation that we'll talk about this later? Gilbert Burns might be finding himself in now as well. So, I don't know. But in more positive light, let's talk about what's next for Caio Borralho, because that was a phenomenal performance. I think he's undefeated in the UFC.
I've just seen the rankings. Obviously, they've just switched him to 5, and Jared's gone down to 7.
Right.
So that's bizarrely pushed Khamzat down another spot to 12, and it's pushed Jack Manson out the top 10. So, I mean, looking at what there is in front of him, Brendan Allen fighting Vettori?
No, Brendan. You keep saying that because of the hotel fight they've had. No, Brendan Allen's fighting Imavov in Paris, I believe. Just before we move on to that, I'm looking at Caio Borralho's career. Second ever fight in MMA he lost in 2015, so 9 years ago. Since then, he's won every fight bar one no contest. So he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 fight win streak. And 2, 3, 4, 7 of those are in the UFC. So he's on a 7-fight UFC win streak. You've got to really take this guy seriously. I know that the competition hasn't been like top end, but still, I mean, Armen Petrosian's not bad. Mahmoud Muradov, Oleg Zaitchik is one of those guys that'll either come and get you or he'll get found out very quickly. Paul Craig, no mug, but we know that, Paul has struggled at points recently. And now Jared Cannonier.
Right, so it's easy to get caught up in headlining the card and this spectacular knockdown, but no finish, right? I do think we shouldn't get too hyped because it was a very balanced fight. I don't think he looked... I don't think it was a big statement like, right, I'm here and this division needs to be terrified of me. I don't think that was what I took from that. Like, I think it's easy when they're interviewing him and to sort of big him up. And he should be bigged up because he got a good win. But I don't think that fight sent a message to the top 5 that this guy is going to be a big, big problem. I think he looked great. But I don't think it was anything that top 5 are going to be going, I could deal with that.
Well, look, obviously, if you're in the top 5, you probably think you can deal with anyone. I'm just going to put up the top 5 now just to see who's in it. But
Sean
I do
Strickland,
think...
Izzy, Whittaker, Imavov, and obviously at number 5 now, he's the man we're talking about.
I think it was a bit of a statement because he dealt with Cannonier on the feet.
Yeah.
And I think... this is a jiu-jitsu guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy with incredibly good grappling. And the fact that he stood and traded with Jared Cannonier and did well, took punches as well. He's durable, like that big cut under his eye, all that stuff.
Cut, that.
And he kept going, cardio, 5 rounds, and the 5th round was the round where he nearly finished it. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of stuff in there where you can go, that is a statement. To deal with Jared Cannonier on the feet when you're known as a jiu-jitsu guy, to knock him down and nearly finish him in the 5th round shows your cardio, the heart and determination to come back when he's got that massive cut under his eye and all that stuff. I think it was a bit of a statement.
I'm not taking nothing away from him, but I don't think it...
sounds like you are.
It
sounds like it's taking quite a lot away from him, mate.
It wouldn't have sent shockwaves through the division. It weren't like he went out there and starched him in a round and it would have been, fuck this dude.
No,
right?
But I think people will be looking at that going, oh, he's a problem.
No one's going to be going,
look at him, oh my God, he's a problem.
But I do think people will go, okay, look, this guy can get into the latter rounds now and, he's not slacking. Look what he done with Cannonier. I do think it was a solid performance, but I don't think it was something that's going to terrify the division.
Look, it's not convinced me, he's going to be a champion one day or anything like that.
That's all I wanted, so that means I'm right.
No, but I do think he could be a champion.
Yeah.
I think there is a possibility that he fights a Strickland.
But at the moment,
wins.
you don't see it.
No, at the moment, I'm saying he could be.
At the moment, I'm correct.
I'm saying I'm not guaranteeing it. So, bloody hell, Stu Whiffen. So who's next for him then? Who do you put against Kyle Borrello next? Obviously, there's that Alan Imavov fight. Do you do the winner of that? Because the top is a bit mixed up at the moment. You've just had Izzy DDP. Strickland has been told he's going to get to the next title shot. I don't really like that. Rob Whittaker is fighting Hamzat, and you would believe the winner of that should be in line for a title shot. So it's a tricky one to kind of give him much forward momentum, unless he's fighting the Imavov versus Allen winner,
so
which makes a lot of
fighting?
sense. Who is Marvin Vettori fighting? Because that is a good point. Let's look that up. I don't know if Marvin Vettori is booked. I wonder if the UFC are slightly kicking. Did you see, apparently, I didn't actually see this for myself, but I heard someone mention it, that after the Marvin Vettori, Brendan Allen scrap in the hotel, which was at a PFL event, Dana White said, "Oh, well, it was a PFL event. That must have been fight of the night when two of my guys were fighting." That's pretty good. I don't agree with a lot of Dana says, but that was a pretty good.
I mean, just
come back.
We should just touch on this quickly. Obviously, Dana and his beef with the PFL, and obviously that factored into the Makayev departure. Makayev re-signs with Brave.
Yeah.
I mean, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they felt like this is, you know where you are with this. You're happy here. You'll get yourself together. You'll get a belt in no time. Maybe they paid him the most. Maybe it was just that we want a star back at Brave.
When did you last watch Brave?
I don't think I've ever watched Brave. I think I watched some highlights. Was that Sam Patterson was in Brave? So I think when we were going to interview Sam, I was rewatching some old Brave fights for our interview with Sam.
Yeah, and we love mixed martial arts. So the more sort of casual fan, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he had a lot of options.
Maybe he didn't. I mean, again, PFL don't have a weight class for him. I'm just looking up because we were mentioning Vettori.
Vettori, yeah. Who's he fighting?
Vettori is not fighting anyone, but he withdrew from the fight with Brendan Allen back in April, and I can't see the reason why. I'm assuming it must have been some kind of injury. So if he's good to go now, maybe Kyle Borrello in a few months' time. Obviously, Kyle needs to heal up. He just had a 5-round fight, big cut under his eye. But, I mean, maybe it's good for Kyle Borrello as well to just, as long as his eye clears up quickly, stay ready. Because you never know. Hamzat and Rob Whittaker, what if you get a call to say, can you come to Abu Dhabi in a week because Hamzat's out and we need someone else to fight Rob Whittaker? That is an opportunity you don't want to turn down, really, is it? And Imavov v. Imavov v. Allen is in just a few months. No, it's in just a few weeks. I think it's very soon. That'll be too soon.
That eye's got a hill.
Yeah, that'll be too soon. When's that fight? That fight's in Paris, I believe, and that is at the end of September. So that's only a month away. I don't think that'll work.
But, no, and I think obviously the UFC are going to look after him a bit because I think they are excited about him.
I agree.
And let's see what Vettori's up to. Should we move on to the next fight?
Let's move on to the next fight. Sorry, I've just briefly lost all of my notes.
Angela Hill.
Angela Hill versus Tabitha Ricci. I mean, crazy pace to the fight. They kept mentioning it on the commentary. And Tabitha Ricci, particularly round one, was really relentless with her pace and just coming forward constantly. Seemed to slow down maybe halfway through round two, but I don't think you could keep that pace up for 3 rounds. That was some Mirab level pace. How did you score it? Because obviously, yet again, Angela Hill is on the bad side of a close split decision. This seems to be a theme for Angela Hill's career, that she's always on the bad sides of very, very close split decisions. How did you score it?
I'm not unhappy with the decision.
No, fair.
But as a former guest of the show and just she's just great, Angela Hill, isn't she? Like, who doesn't like Angela Hill? At the weigh-in, just dropping her strides at the face-off was fantastic. Have you seen this?
I did not see that.
So Ricci was obviously in the kind of like the pants and top kind of combo, and Angela Hill had her trackies on, and then got there, and then right at the last minute went just dropped her trousers, left them at her knees, and had the face-off. It was just fantastic, and I just love her. I think she's great, and I think, because she's been on the wrong end of so many decisions, I kind of was willing it to go her way, but I'm not necessarily unhappy. Are you happy with the decision? Did you think it was a fair reflection of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, so the way I had it was I had Ricci round 1, Hill round 3, and round 2 really could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And as a fan of Angela Hill, as someone we've had on the show, all that stuff, I think I was wanting it to be an Angela Hill win, but sadly not. But 39 years of age, we've spoken about this maybe impacts the men divisions more than the women's divisions, but we talk a lot about age in the lower weight classes. She's at strawweight and is still doing bits at 39. And when she's losing to women that go on and have very good careers, and all that, she's generally losing by a very, very close split decision. So, yeah. Oh, hang on. I've got on here on Tapology, it was a unanimous decision. Was it unanimous or was it split? Maybe it was unanimous. In which case, I need to shut the hell up. But even so, even with it being unanimous, I still think it could have gone either way.
I think Angela Hill. I mean, we see that she does a lot of the sort of commentary work for Cage Warriors when they have their shows in the States. I think people love her. I think she's good on a mic. I think there's a future for her outside of the octagon as well, within combat sports, on the kind of sort of media side of things. I think she's great, and but I didn't feel on Saturday I was watching a fighter that was nearing the end of her career. I thought she still looked fantastic.
And her record looks mathematically terrible.
Yeah.
Like 17-14 does not look like someone that's in the top 10 of the UFC or whatever
you rattle
it
off
is.
the names that she's fought, mate.
But exactly. And not only that, as we've discussed, split decision losses, unanimous decision losses, all of them very, very, very close.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's not that...
That's why she's still there.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think the UFC would ever get rid of her because also... she puts on fun fights. Like, she comes to scrap. She doesn't really have knockouts. She doesn't have the power for it. But she does bring it. She brings the fight. She stands up and she goes to war whenever she can. And I think people love that about her. Absolutely love that. Whenever I see Angela Hill on the card, I think, all right, it's probably going 3 rounds, but it's going to be a fun scrap.
Yeah.
Trying to think what is... what might be next for Tabitha Ricci into the top 10 now. I need to have a quick gander at the rankings there. But Tabitha Ricci, I don't know, is what's going on at strawweight? I think Tatiana Suarez, you never know what's going on with her. Yan Xiaonan would be a huge step up. Obviously, she only just fought for the belt, but she's not fighting. I'm not sure if Shvina Jandiroba is booked, but she should be looking at a title shot next. Jessica Andrade is fighting this weekend against Natalia Silva, but that's up at flyweight. Jessica Andrade ranked 4th at strawweight and 6th at flyweight. She's straddling both weight classes. I think Marina Rodriguez has a fight booked. Mackenzie Dern just fought. There's not many options.
No.
I think Hebas might have a fight booked as well. So there's not many options for Tabitha Ricci. So we'll have to see kind of what happens with her. I can't really pick a name out of that just yet. But I didn't really watch the tough fights. Did you watch the Ultimate Fighter fights?
Yeah, I've enjoyed this season.
Have you been watching it?
Yeah.
You've never told me you've been watching the Ultimate Fighter this year.
I did because obviously Nathan
was
in it. And then it come to light that Nathan had actually broke his leg in his fight and then continued training afterwards. And then Nathan was due to have fought on this card, wasn't he?
Well, he's fighting next week,
and he's now fighting next week.
Yeah.
So he was pulled last minute, and I don't know. Have you seen why?
He was brought in short notice, wasn't he?
He was brought in very short notice, but in the face-off picture, he's got a very big red mark on his arm. And so I checked the comments, and there was a lot of staff chat going on. And whether that's legit or not, I don't know. That's just me reading comments on Instagram. So, but we reached out to Nathan before the fight, and he's such a nice guy. I wished him all the best, and he's always lots of banter back with us. Just a top bloke. And I've literally, when I've gone on to do some of the artwork for this morning's, the second half of the show, and we're going to be talking about what's happening this coming weekend, see that Nathan had been put on this card. I was like, oh, fantastic. But...
Is it against the same fighter?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Right.
I want to say, I can't even pronounce his name. I think he's a Lithuanian guy, and it is Zygimantas Ramaska.
Easy for you to say, mate.
I know, Zygimantas Ramaska against Nathan Fletcher. And up at 145, not at 135, I believe.
That's interesting.
Is that because they've already cut weight and they couldn't cut weight, like, another a week later type thing? So maybe they just said do it at 145.
So there's we won't sort of focus too much on the tough fights, but Valentin, he's a very. I did speak to you about him. I said he's a very interesting character. Yeah. He ended up becoming one of the trainers throughout the thing as well. I think he trains or works at Tiger Muay Thai, right, and lives out in Thailand, and he was like sleeping outdoors, and like he's got that kind of Viking vibe about like his mentality and stuff. A really interesting character. And his first fight in Tough, he looked fantastic. Loda is just that kind of American, all-American nice guy. Had been a championship, a big wrestling champion, and I think had only been striking for like the last sort of couple of years, and has made an absolute statement. But I thought that was an absolutely fantastic fight, and obviously the grappling of Loda was phenomenal. And whereas I think Valentin much rather would have stood and struck with him. Yeah. But the fighter that really stood out for me was Khan in the fight before against Santos, and I thought when I was watching Tough, Khan was absolutely fantastic. I thought he looked so good, and he was the guy that got the win over Nathan in the first fight. Thought he looked absolutely fantastic, and I kind of had my money on him this weekend, but wasn't to be.
I've seen the knockout.
Yeah.
Is it Myra and Santos? Yeah. They were both like throwing hooks simultaneously, but Santos's one got there first, and it, like, again, he sort of knocked him out, and he was knocked out on his knees, and then still ate a couple of more shots when he was clearly just gone. It was a ferocious knockout.
Yeah, this was literally the first season of Tough that I've kind of persevered with, because we all loved it back in the day, and I think whether it's the formula or I don't know, it doesn't pull me in as much as it used to. I think maybe because there's so much UFC and MMA to watch now that you're not, sometimes you'd wait for a month for a UFC card. So Tough was a great week. The days of Ronda and that was like, what's that?
It's very formulaic. It's been the same way for like however many years now, 15, 20 years it seems like. It's never much different. I know they did the Gym v Gym thing when it was like the Black Zillions versus ATT or whatever it was. Like that was a little bit different. Yeah. But most of the time it's very samey. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think if it gives fighters like Nathan an opportunity to get into the UFC, fantastic. And one of the fights that when we spoke about Magny earlier, whenever we talk gateway fighters, then he's always that guy. Michael Morales
looked very good, didn't he?
Fucking hell, man! Yeah,
people have been talking about Michael Morales for a while, saying he's legit, he's the real deal. And when you put him up against a guy like Magny, you go, okay, now we're going to see. Now we're going to see if he is the real deal.
And we saw.
He really was like, Magny was doing Neil Magny things. He had him for like 2 minutes a plus or whatever it was, up against the fence, just wrestling him a little bit, Morales was trying to break that lock, couldn't. But when he eventually did, he just did something that I don't know if I've seen that much before, like with your back to your opponent up against the fence, just spinning elbow, and it lands and sends him crashing to the floor. And then he followed him down with a bit of ground and pound. To do that to Neil Magny shows you are legit a top prospect in that division.
Do you know what? I want to just give Neil Magny some props here, mate. Because I just opened up his record and I expected to see a barrage of losses. I'm far from it. Obviously, he took the loss at the weekend. He got the win over Mike Malott. Obviously, got pieced up by Ian Gary.
Yep.
Before that, a win over Phil Rao. And then the loss before that, Gilbert Burns. Before that, he got a win over Daniel Rodriguez. And then before that, he lost to Shavkat. And then, wins over like Max Griffiths, Jeff Neal, like
but he's
Robbie
that
Lawler.
guy, isn't he?
And like, these are the people that he's lost to are, killers.
Yeah. And he's got good wins as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's why he's the
Robbie Lawler.
perfect. He's the perfect gatekeeper.
Yeah.
He's perfect for that role. I know that he may not want that. He might want to achieve more and all that. But there's nothing
He's
wrong
got
with
wins.
being.
Check this out, right? Wins over Gastelum, Hector Lombard, Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's legit. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I sort of done him a bit of a dirty there and presumed just to go, well, he's going to get cut soon, isn't he? And why would he be cut soon? He's literally...
There's nothing wrong with being in the top 15 best human beings in your weight class of fighting.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite an achievement, actually. That's pretty good. And that's where he is. And that's the guy that they go, right, well, we need to know whether a Michael Morales or an Ian Gary or a Mike Malott or whatever is as good as we hope they might be. Could they be a title challenger one day? Could they be a top 5 guy one day? Well, let's throw him in with Neil Magny and see.
Yeah.
And you're either Shavkat and Ian Gary or you're Mike Malott.
Yeah.
And we find out.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's good to have people like that on the roster.
Absolutely.
And I don't think he'll get cut anytime, really. I think he'll end his days there. Still the most winningest welterweight of all time, I believe. Surpassed GSP's record. Most wins in welterweight division, I believe Neil Magny's got. So, again, good to have records like that under your belt. I don't know whether to talk about this when we move on to Brady Burns coming up this week, but I really do want to talk a little bit about the fact that welterweight has got some really great prospects coming through. Because Michael Morales, 17-0. Shavkat Rakhmanov's about, 18-0. Ian Gary's about 15-0. Like, there's a lot of undefeated fighters and some other decent prospects at welterweight.
It's the best division for me at the moment.
No, you're not better than lightweight. You can't say it's the best division.
I think, looking at lightweight, right?
Oh my God, here we go. This is another Whiffin classic.
At lightweight,
hold on to your headphones, guys. Here we go. All right, Whiffin, take us on a journey.
Look, for me, I think the fact that Leon has just lost the belt, right? I think that lines up super exciting fights. I think if we're going to see Usman fighting at welterweight, I think that makes for so many exciting fights. I want to see what Ian Gary can do. I think there's fun fights in that top 10 for MVP or even in the top 15. I want to see what else MVP can do in this division. Shavkat, I mean, I don't know, where that's going to go, but I'm very, very excited to watch the journey. There's all sorts of stuff going on with Joaquin Buckley at the moment. He's getting a bit of a name for himself as being a gobshite. Jack Della Maddalena, when he comes back, I can't wait to see what he's going to do. I love that division. I look at the lightweight division and I think it's cluttered. It's cluttered with people that are going to pick their fights a bit more. I think there's more veterans up there than there is in welterweight, and I think there's hungry killers in that if we look at the welterweight, right? Benil, Chandler, Hooker, Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, right? I'm not going to throw Sarukian in there, or Makachev, Max Holloway, Gamrot. Like, these are all fighters that have been around a long time.
Yeah, and they're fucking amazing.
And they are fucking amazing, but they're very picky about who they fight, a lot of them.
Well, I don't think we can say that anymore because, we've had Oliveira fighting the Sarukians. We've had Dustin Poirier fighting the Benoit Saint-Denis and the Justin Gaethjes fighting the Fizievs. I mean, it's like, I don't think we can keep saying that, other than maybe Chandler, who understandably is waiting for the Conor fight. I don't think we can say that they're squatting as much as they were. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I think welterweight's a very, very good division.
It doesn't sound like it.
And I love the fact that they've got these young, up-and-coming kind of prospects. I mean, Prates is new to the UFC. He's about 31, so he's not young, but he looks very, very good. You can throw Sean Brady in there. He's only got one loss. We'll talk about him and Gilbert Burns coming up.
Why Colby still at 5?
Why is Colby there? I mean, you can sack him off. But outside of that, not outside of that, but when you look at the lightweight division and you go, Islam Makhachev, the UFC's pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet, despite what Dana White wants him to say. Arman Sarukian, very, very good. Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker. 4 of the most exciting fighters you'll get against any weight class. Like that. Those 4, Oliveira, Gaethje, Poirier, Hooker, unreal. Chandler, Benil Dariush, Mateus Gamrot, Max Holloway just in there. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because I think of him more as a featherweight, but after what he did to Gaethje, you got to throw him in somewhere. Fiziev, great fighter. Renato Moicano, Benoit Saint-Denis. I know he lost to Poirier, but what a fighter he is. Fun fighter. RDA, Jalen Turner, and now Paddy Pimblett for a bit of extra star power as well. Lightweight is the best division. And then I can look at featherweight and bantamweight and make arguments that maybe they are better than welterweight as well. But it's maybe a tough ask.
Who do you think they're going to give Paddy next?
We discussed this last time. I mean, Moicano seems like a good shout, doesn't it?
I've just got a little feeling like Dariush might be floating about in the mix there.
Might be. I don't think that's a bad move for the UFC to do that. If they want to try and get him up the rankings as quick as possible with the best matchups. I mean, Dariush is a tough fight for anyone. He's a very, very good fighter. But
it was only a year or so ago we were saying this guy's a big problem. And we were saying that he's going to be the test for Sarukian and for the champ. Stylistically,
Dariush is not a bad matchup for Paddy because Dariush isn't the best striker in the world. He's durable. He's durable. He hits hard. But I think Paddy might be able to move around and use his kicks well against Dariush. And both are good grapplers. Yeah. Both are good grapplers. So I think that's not a bad shout. We are getting way off subject here, but I'm quite enjoying the conversation.
Yes. I want to move on then to Meerschaert.
Okay, go on then.
So let's just get me notes up.
He was fighting Edmund Shabazian, and it was one of the best comebacks you will see, wasn't it? It was a great, great comeback from Meerschaert.
Really fun fight.
Fun fight, more fun moustache.
Do you know what? That's a fantastic tash, isn't it?
He's absolutely fantastic. He should be in a Western with that tash. That is a proper Western
definitely.
tash.
If he would have sort of walked in the octagon and sort of had his Stetson down and just sort of flicked it up.
Yeah.
Put a ciggy out.
Chew some tobacco.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah, I would have been all over that. Got the win, and obviously he's got good jiu-jitsu and made a really good call out. He
did. Before we get to the call out, though, just talking about the fight. I mean, credit to the ref. I can't remember who was reffing this fight, but Meerschaert, if they'd have stopped the fight and after Shabazian put him down and followed him down and was hitting him with load of ground and pound. I think they could have stopped that fight and I would have been perfectly happy with it. But every time the ref gave Meerschaert the opportunity and he said, you got to move, you got to defend, Meerschaert did it. He tried to wrap him up in his guard, he turtled out, he moved in a different way, all these different things. And then after Shabazian, I think, got Meerschaert to get up, Meerschaert took him down quite quickly and that was it. And it's just, before we get onto the call-out, because it was a great call-out and I'm really interested in that, Gerald Meerschaert becomes the guy with the most finishes in UFC middleweight history. So again,
That's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, not Anderson Silva,
No.
not Rob Whittaker or Adesanya.
When you think of that, if someone said that record and someone hit me with that in a pub quiz, I'd be like, Anderson?
Got to be Anderson, right?
and
That's
like-
what you would think.
I would never say Gerard Meerschaert. Never in a million years.
No, and
Props to him.
props to him. Yeah, great win, amazing comeback to win like that. It looked like he was done. Got that win, came back, and then talk us through the call out because I know it's something you wanted to talk about.
He called out our buddy Paul Craig.
Did.
Great call out. I think, Paul's had a couple of tough fights recently. We all know that Paul likes to get things on the ground and utilise his, what is the best part of his skill set, I think. And I think this, having a well-matched set of skills here, as we know, sometimes you don't get a high-level BJJ match. You get people that kind of... When we spoke to MVP when he come in, and when we asked him about the Wonder Boy fight, he was like, "It could cancel each other out. It could actually not be this high level fight. This exciting fight. It could actually be people that are very wary of each other's skill set, so it can throw other things into the mix." So I think this is a really exciting fight to call out, and I think it's I think it was I can't think who was doing the punditry. Bisping, Felder. I think it was Felder said Paul Craig's probably not in a position to say yes or no to too many fights at the moment. And I think this is a good fight.
I agree. I think it's a good matchup for Paul. My concern would be if it becomes a sloppy striking battle, because when you see a fight like this, I want to see it go to the ground. There's not many fights that I'm like, I want to see that go to the ground. But there's some fighters, and we'll talk about one coming up this weekend, where you go, they're such good grapplers. I really want to see it go there, and I want to see the transitions and the scrambles and hunting for submissions. And I want to see that. And I'd love to see that with Paul Craig and Gerald Meerschaert. I think that'd be a really, really fun fight. The other thing just to discuss about that fight, and that's all I'm really interested in on the card, unless there's any more you want to talk about. No. What has happened with Edmund Shabazian? I mean, that guy at one point was like a really strong prospect. Like, he'd won the Ultimate Fighter finale and then finished in the first round, 3 opponents, Jack Marshman being one of them, Charles Bird, I don't really know, but Brad Tavares, who's, a UFC vet, been around a long, long time, finished them all in the first round and then lost to Derek Brunson, lost to Jack Hermansson, lost to Nasruddin Imavov.
It feels like he hit a different level of opponent and just couldn't hold his own there.
I feel like he's gone backwards again.
You mentioned them first 3 that he then wins, and then you mentioned the first 3 losses. There's a very different step up in calibre of fighter there.
You're right. You're absolutely right. After that, he fought Dalcha Langyambula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he won. So that's, in keeping with what you're saying. And then he lost to Anthony Hernandez.
Yeah.
And then he won against AJ Dobson. And now he's lost against Gerald Meerschaert. And you're like, Anthony Hernandez I actually quite like. I think he's a very, very good fighter. But clearly there is a ceiling there. And it's either I'm going to get smashed or I'm going to do the smashing. And because all his wins are by finish in the UFC. He's like five UFC finishes. All by... one by submission, I think. But other than that, it's all been by a knockout or TKO. And then he gets finished a lot. So maybe the UFC will keep him around because it's fun to either get the finish or be finished in terms of fight fans watching you. But I just thought Gerald Meerschaert was one that he should be winning, and he didn't. And he, and after being so close to finishing it as well. Not great. I think he's 6-5 in the UFC now. Not great for a man that at one stage back in 2019, everyone was going, this guy could be the answer to like Israel Adesanya and stuff like that.
Well, look, we're back at the Apex this coming Saturday for Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady at welterweight. I mean, this is a really exciting fight for me.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really exciting. Everybody loves Gilbert Burns, but I think Sean Brady's been looking so good lately.
Yeah.
How do you see this one playing out, Mr. Harrison?
Well, when you look at Brady, his only loss is to Bilal Muhammad, who is now the champion. So, I mean, no shame in that whatsoever. I think it's going to be really telling to see kind of what happens with Gilbert Burns. We all love Gilbert Burns. I want to see how old Gilbert Burns is.
Didn't
Is
he lose to Jack
37?
Della Maddalena?
Yeah, he could be on a 3-fight losing streak, I believe, if he loses. So, lost to Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns. So, let's just have a quick look through.
Who are we talking about? I'm talking
Gilbert
about Sean
Burns.
Brady.
Oh, Sean Brady lost to Bilal Muhammad. Yeah, that's his only
Jack
loss.
Della Maddalena?
No, that was Burns that lost to Jack Della.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. Sean Brady's only had one loss, and that was to Bilal Muhammad.
My bad.
So Gilbert Burns, he lost to Bilal Muhammad, and after that lost to Jack Della Maddalena in a fight that he was doing all right in, but then he got hit by that knee when he was going in for a takedown. Before that, he beat George Masvidal, which, it doesn't age massively well, I don't think.
Neil Magny.
A win over Neil Magny by arm triangle in round one. That is pretty good, but as we know that there's a ceiling on Neil Magny.
Yeah.
Before that great fight with Khamzat Chimaev, but again lost. Before that, beat Wonderboy Thompson, but with the wrestling, and we were talking about how if you're grappling against Wonderboy now at the Wonderboy's age, you're going to do all right, I think. And then lost to Kamaru Usman when he fought for the belt. Tyron Woodley on that run where Tyron Woodley was doing terribly. Damian Maia, where he's just a much, much better version of Damian Maia. Loads of grappling fights. And then before that, we're looking at 2019, Gunnar Nelson, when he was getting into... So it doesn't, to me, fill me with confidence in this. When I'm looking through his record, even though he's got some great names on there, it doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence. And we could be seeing Gilbert Burns at the age of 38 as well now, staring down the barrel of a 3-fight losing streak if he loses this one to Sean Brady. All I would say with Sean Brady is, can he handle Burns on the feet? Because Sean Brady was finished by Bilal on the feet. That fight took place on the feet because Sean Brady's fantastic grappler. Gilbert Burns, a fantastic jiu-jitsu specialist. So will this fight end up on the ground? I'm not sure. Maybe Brady would say, I'm better off on the feet. But Burns hits hard. We've seen what Burns can do on the feet. He dropped Kamaru Usman in their fight. He slugged it out with Khamzat Chimaev. He's a durable guy and he can crack. But I wonder if he's just getting a bit slower now. Age is creeping up with him. And we might see a Brady win.
I think obviously he's got that win over Gaslam. And the fight with Della Maddalena was cancelled.
Right.
It was due for last year. And obviously he's got the loss to Bilal. But looking through the rest of his record, he's not fought the calibre of fighters that Gilbert Burns has fought. I do think this is not a significant step up, but I do think it is a step up in competition. But I don't know. Gilbert Burns hasn't really excited me in his last sort of few outings, and I thought he's looked beatable in them as well. And I think it makes for a great opportunity for Sean Brady. Like you say, he's only got that one loss on his record, and that is to the champ. But I understand what you're saying. Like that loss coming via striking, and for me at that point in 2022, I didn't think Bilal's striking was phenomenal. I don't
think it's great in 2024, to be honest. He was able to just... Better, for sure, yeah.
But yeah.
I think Brady also struggled with... he dominated Michael Chiesa in the first 2 rounds of their fight, and then in the third round, Chiesa was just striking all the time rather than trying to do anything grappling related, and was able to keep it on the feet. And Brady struggled there as well. So if he struggled with Chiesa in the third round with strikes, if he struggled with Bilal Muhammad with strikes, Gilbert Burns is probably a better striker than both of those guys. So, I mean, as much as I think I would favour Brady in this fight just for youth, and he can strike, Brady. He's just not great at it, I don't think. It wouldn't surprise me if Burns knocked him out. Like, if Burns knocked him out, I would be like, oh, yeah, that is always a possibility.
That'd be fantastic for Gilbert Burns' career to get a nice big KO.
Yep. But I do think that we might be seeing a changing of the guard here. And I think, as we've mentioned, welterweight right now, Prates coming through, even though he's 31, he still feels so fresh to the UFC that it feels like a new prospect. Shavkat, 18-0 or whatever he is. Gary, 15-0, whatever he is. Morales, 17-0, just coming off a win as well. And you've got Sean Brady, whose only loss is to the champion.
Yeah.
I think
and
that's
the thing is,
really,
what has he took from that loss? He's obviously, you go back and you maybe he was just training to wrestle in that fight, expecting that was what the champ was going to do, and he wouldn't have been way off the mark expecting that. That's what Bilal does. But I think we got a fun fight this Saturday.
Yeah, I can imagine it playing out predominantly on the feet. So I don't think Burns will be able. I'm just looking at this photo you pulled up, but I don't think Burns will be able to take Brady down, and I think Brady might think I'd rather not take him down, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
At some point, it's going to happen.
You reckon
it's going to end up on the ground? Of course it is, yeah.
Yeah?
And I think we got an interesting fight there.
I wonder if it might all take place on the feet, but I hope it goes to the ground at points, because I think that'll be exciting to see these two high-level grapplers get at it.
It's 5 rounds, so they're going to get a little bit tired, and they might just think, let's just have a little takedown at the end of a round. Who knows? Who knows? Let's move on to Jessica Andrade and Natalia Silva.
If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope we're now going to cut to a big wide of this. Why have you made Natalia Silva's jumping in midair?
So
and Jessica Andrade looks just huge, like a giant that's about to pummel her.
A little sort of peek behind the curtain. So what happens is, I put these little bits of artwork together ahead of the show, and when you go on the UFC site, you can take them kind of pictures that we can see there of Andrade and utilise them. When I searched for an image of Natalia, that was the first one I saw, and she looks like she's obviously took that photograph on a trampoline and has bounced up and looks so happy. I just thought, I'm going to put her on that artwork looking small. So it almost looks like that sort of Tinkerbell vibe, just buzzing around next to Andrade. Why would you not use that picture? She's having the best time there, and I hope she enjoys that time, because I've got a feeling it won't be lasting through to the weekend.
Oh, you reckon?
I'm a big Andrade fan, and I know she's hit and miss, but when she's hit, mate, you do not want to be on the other end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Natalia Silva. She's very kind of taekwondo style. She is going to have to be on her bike in this fight.
I think she's is she a purple belt at BJJ as well? I think she's.
Don't know.
Let me just check. I think she is. Yeah, I'm sure she is, and obviously, I think her skill set, as you say, is taekwondo.
Yeah, she's an incredibly good striker. She keeps it on the feet more often than not.
If that is the case, then we've got a good fight. Because I think Andrade, she's always, thrilled to stand and bang. Yeah. And I think you are.
I think it's going to be like point fighting from Natalia Silva, though. I think it's going to be very much
She's not going to brawl.
No, exactly. I think she's going to be on her bike, few punches here and there, tippy-tappy kind of punches, a few kicks, and Andrade is going to be wading through it. And she might be able to take what Natalia Silva can dish out, just maraud through a few strikes and land a big shot of her own, in which case she'll probably knock her out. Otherwise, she might be trying to push her up against the fence and get the takedowns in, because that would be where you would imagine she would have the biggest advantage. Yeah. But I don't know about like purple belt jiu-jitsu. Maybe she's got skills down there as well. But I think
Andrade is strong, man.
Andrade is so strong. I mean, I never forget what she did to Rose Namajunas in that first fight, where she just picked her up and slammed her on her head.
Yeah.
In terms of the best outcome for the flyweight division, I don't know. I mean, Natalia Silva winning definitely adds fresh blood to that division and the top end of that division, and makes that very exciting. I really, really want to see Andrade v. Rose 3. I've been calling for that fight for years and years and years, because that first fight, Rose looked the best she's ever looked in round one of that first fight with Andrade, then got slammed on her head, lost the belt, and it affected Rose quite badly. I think mentally going forward, but she clearly overcame that and has done very well since. Then in their second fight, Rose won the first 2 rounds really, really well. But then Andrade was really putting it on her in the third round. And you thought, if this is a 5-round fight, Andrade could go on and win this. So there's something about those two together that I go, I still want to see more of it. They were both really fun fights. Both had moments for both fighters as well. And I really want to see the third fight there. So I wonder if Andrade has to win for us to maybe get that. But I don't know. But I really want to see it.
I think Rose is looking a little bit further up than this. And I don't necessarily think it's... I think that's just based off of maybe reputation and previous fights. But I don't think she's... I'm sure she was talking about titles I don't know if she's booked post-fight.
She might need one more, though, because I think Tatiana Suarez should be getting the next shot. Viana Jandiroba has a really big claim to getting the next shot. Oh, hang on. No, we're going... sorry, I'm getting mistaken. I'm thinking of strawweight.
Yeah.
I mean, Valentina Shevchenko is getting the next shot at Grasso. Manon Fiorot is next up, and she has a win over Rose. So surely she can't leapfrog Manon Fiorot. Erin Blanchfield, maybe there's a fight there and that would take her up in the rankings, but you would argue maybe that's a harder fight for Rose than Jessica Andrade?
I think if...
Because Erin Blanchfield beat Andrade, didn't she?
Yeah. I think as far as like you see Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas 3, and you've got the highlight reel of her being plonked on a Swede and obviously getting the loss. Like I think you get something that's really marketable, way more so than maybe fighting, Blanchfield. And I don't think Farrow's going to fight Rose. I think she's got the eyes on the prize.
Well, she's already beat Rose, hasn't she?
Yeah.
But Rose Namajunas is booked to fight Erin Blanchfield at a fight night card in...
Oh, do you know what?
No, in Canada.
I think that got announced last week, actually.
Right. I think it's in November.
Right.
Early November in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Rose Namajunas versus Erin Blanchfield. Derek Lewis is on that card as well, and some Canadians. So there you go.
It's got to be offensive.
Is it? Why? Some Canadians are on
just
the card.
Some Canadians.
Some Canadians.
Don't know they are.
Some
just
Canadians.
some Canadians.
Some Canadians. Marc-Andre Barrios, probably. Yeah. So that's booked. So I don't know. We're not going to be seeing Andrade Rose anytime soon. But if Rose were to lose to Blanchfield, if Andrade were to lose here, that is a fight that is a featured bout on any pay-per-view for me.
Yeah.
Or could headline a great fight night card. Rose versus Andrade 3.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they are in the rankings.
Yeah.
I'm watching that fight excited.
If
and
they
really
create
up
a
for it.
woman's BMF, like there we go.
That's a woman's BMF right there. Like Rose versus Andrade 3 for a women's BMF. I'm all over that.
Yeah.
No problem with that at all.
Absolutely. Just lastly, we'll touch on. Was there anything else you wanted to speak to about Andrade?
No.
Like, just wanted to mention that we've got Carl Nelson. He's fighting Steve Garcia. Nelson coming off a win over Bill Aggio. He's on a 3-fight win streak since he's lost to Jai Herbert back in 2022. I think like his last outing was a devastating first round finish with knees and punches. So I'm looking forward to see what he brings to the undercard of this fight. Apart from that,
I think Matt Schnell versus Alessandro Costa
Yeah.
will probably be a fun fight. I think
Yeah.
those kind of flyweight fights are always fun. Someone's probably going to get knocked out, or if not, you're going to see a war.
Yeah.
Matt Schnell is one of those guys that brings it, but unfortunately for him, gets knocked out quite a lot for doing so. Alessandro Costa, I think, a guy that will scrap as well. So I think that will be a fun fight. And then Ryan Spann, OSP. I don't know if that is going to be a fun fight or not, but maybe Ryan Spann finishes it early, or maybe he gets tired and OSP does a bit of a boring fight. I don't know. I don't know which way. But it's a decent card. When you think about Brady Burns, there's big implications there, and that's a really interesting fight. Andrade, Natalia Silva, we just spoke about, really good fight. Nathan Fletcher for the UK is doing it on the card. Matt Schnell, Alessandro Costa will be good. Ryan Spann, OSP. It's names you know, people you know. Not a bad card.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll be back next week to talk about the following weekend where things get a little bit tasty. Is it? Oh, is it the week
no,
after that?
I think there's a week break, and then there's a week
until
after.
the next one?
I believe so. So I don't know what we're going to do next week. What we're going to fill the airwaves with. But shout out as well before we finish, Brendan Loughnane. In the final of another PFL tournament, he beat Kai Kamaka by a decision. Nearly finished him in the first round.
And he got enough money.
And he got enough money. Well, those Oasis tickets are going to be expensive up
They
there,
are,
aren't they?
they
Yeah.
are.
So yeah, well done, Brendan Loughnane. We've had him on the show before. Best of luck to him in the final. I can't remember who he's fighting, but I think it's a tough one. I'm trying to remember. I might have to try and pull it up now. But yeah, I mean, how good is that? Last year didn't work out for him, but the year before won the million, and now he's in the final again. That is quite an achievement for Brendan Loughnane.
Do you think if he wins this, he has a little look at the UFC?
So I have heard, and I might be wrong, that maybe he was offered a UFC contract and turned it down because he was like, "No, I'm doing all right over here in the PFL. I'm like, they like me. I'm a bit of a star, being treated well. I'm probably getting paid more money in my purses than what I would be in the UFC, and I got the chance at the Millie. So why not do that?" When I look up Tapology, it's not got his next fight, even though it's very obvious who he's fighting because he'll be fighting whoever's in the other final bracket. So that's it. Timur Kurzriev, who is Russian and is 17-0. So that is going to be a tough one for Brendan. Although he only won a split decision over Gabriel Braga. So, yeah.
But not being funny, if they're dangling that $1 million carrot, I'm sure you can dig deep to try and pull a win out there. Best of luck to Brendan.
100%.
Best of luck to Nathan Fletcher this weekend. Some really exciting things happening in the UFC for next gen at the moment. Obviously, Nathan making his debut, and we're seeing Luke Riley. There's been a bit of chat about what's going on with him and the Contender Series.
He's meant to be coming on to the Contender Series.
Yeah. I did hear that the fight was off again, and then he's back on. I don't know.
Oh, right.
So I won't say too much. So I don't really know. But also UK MMA, seeing Lorna Campbell get his UFC contract.
Did you say
Lorna Kavanagh?
No. You said Lorna Campbell.
Lorna Kavanagh getting his UFC contract in spectacular fashion.
Yes.
As I'm sure you know, I've been banging on about him for a long time.
You have.
Over at
You've been a
Cage
big
Warriors,
fan, yeah.
Fighting out of GB Top Team under Brad, training with Nathaniel Wood. And I think he's got superstar written all over him. And can't wait to see that journey start to unfold in the UFC. But I think we're done for today.
We are.
Head over to Fat Candy now and go buy yourself something. Use that discount code SWEETMMA. If you're not following us on TikTok, head over there, give us a little follow and a like over there. Other than that, keep up to speed with everything we do over on Instagram and X. And give us a big subscribe and a comment. A comment on YouTube would be great. And if you've not headed over to YouTube and had a watch of these shows, then come and have a little look, because I think you'll be impressed, because it looks good, aside from our tired old faces. We'll see you next time.
Bye.